will be discussing the topic, can domestic law be used as evidence in international law? The main question we will explore is whether a state's domestic law and practice can be used as evidence in the formation of international law, particularly through the concepts of states, practice, and customary international law. Joining me today, there are three panelists who will share their perspective from different angles. We have Mr. NADZREE as a lecturer in international law, and we have Mr. Fu, a foreign ministry officer who will provide the state practice perspective. And we have Mr. AIMAN, an international law researcher. Let us begin our discussion. First question goes to Mr. NADZREE. What is meant by state practice and customary international law? How are those two concepts linked to the use of domestic law as evidence in international law?
Okay, thank you for the question, moderator. For me, in international law, state practice refers to what states actually do in practice, rather than what is written in theory. This includes domestic legislation, court decision, government policies, and how states respond to international issues. Customary international law (CIL) is formed when many states consistently follow a similar practice over time and they believe they are legally obligated to do so. Domestic laws plays an important role as evidence of states' practice. When many countries adopt similar laws, it reflects a common pattern of behavior among states. This helps indicate the existence of an emerging international law. For example, many states have laws protecting diplomatic immunity. This shows widespread acceptance and consistent practice among states. For important limitation, one country's law alone is not sufficient to create international law. The practice must be widespread, consistent, and accepted by a large number of states. In conclusion, domestic law is not a direct source of international law. However, it is important as supporting evidence in identifying and forming customary international law. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you, Mr. NADZREE. So, we can understand that domestic law is not a direct source of international law, but serve as evidence of state practice that contribute to the formation of customary international law. So, Mr. Fu, what's your view on this question?
Thank you, moderator. From the perspective of the foreign ministry, a state's action and politics often reflect its official position on international issues.
Thank you, Mr. Fu, for giving me a perspective of how this question is viewed by a Ministry of Foreign. So, this shows that domestic level state practice can influence and develop the development of international legal norms when applied consistently. So, let's view the perspective from the international law researcher, Mr. AIMAN. How you view this question?
Thank you, moderator. From a research perspective, domestic law, court decision, and government policy, and often used as evidence of state practice. This material helps show how a state act and understand its obligated under international law. For example, when many countries adopt similar law regarding diplomatic protection or human rights, it may indicate a shared state practice. However, such practice must also be implemented by opinions jury which is the belief that her practice is legally required. Therefore, a domestic law is not a direct such of international law. It serves as important advance in identifying and supporting and development of customary international law.
Thank you, Mr. AIMAN, for giving us a perspective on this question as an international law researcher. So, clearly, domestic law plays an important role as evidence in determining the existence of customary international law. Thank you to all panelists.
Hello, welcome back. I am Fu, and I will be moderating this session. With me right now, we have Sir NADZREE, the lecturer in international law, and AIMAN AZMY, and last person, Mr. AIMAN, international law researcher. Now, we will look at relevant cases and examples. Okay, so I forward this question to Mr. NADZREE. Mr. NADZREE, can you explain the Anglo-Norwegian fisheries case and its importance in this issue?
Mr. Moderator, in summary, Anglo-Norwegian fisheries case 1951 involved a dispute between the UK and Norway over how to draw coastal baselines. Norway used trade baselines based on its geography, which the UK argued was not in line with international practice. The ICJ accepted Norway's approach because it had been used consistently for a long time in domestic practice. Other states also did not strongly object to Norway's method. The court ruled that Norway's method was lawful due to consistent practice and tacit acceptance. The main point in this discussion, domestic practice plus consistent state behavior can count as evidence at state practice and help form customary international law.
Thank you. The case shows that consistent state practice can serve as strong evidence in identifying customary international law.
Thank you, moderator. In addition to that case, there are many examples where domestic law have contributed to the development of customary international law. For instance, many countries have law protecting diplomat and recognizing diplomatic immunity. This consistent practice have strengthened international legal rules on diplomatic relations. Therefore, domestic law can serve as important evidence of state practice and may contribute to the formation of customary international law when widely accepted by state.
Thank you. This proves that widely accepted domestic practice has the potential to form international norms. So, Mr. AZMY, from your perspective, what is the main challenge in determining whether the state practice truly forms customary international law?
So, for me, the main challenge is ensuring the practice is not only consistent but also accompanied by opinion juries, meaning the belief that the practice legally required.
Alright, thank you, Sir AZMY. This shows that identifying customary international law requires careful examination of both actions and intentions of states. Alright, thank you so much, Sir AZMY. Okay, to Sir NADZREE, do you think using domestic law as evidence in international law is a fair approach, Sir NADZREE?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think this approach is important because international law is largely based on the actual behaviors of states, not just theoretical rules written in treatises or documents. It focuses more on what states actually do in practice, which makes the system move realistic and reflective of real international relations. But at the same time, we need to be careful because powerful states can have a strong influence on how international norms are formed and accepted. Due to their political, economic, and military strength, their practices often stand out more compared to weaker states. Therefore, even though state practice is important, it should still be balanced and inclusive. Ideally, international norms should reflect the behavior and acceptance of a wide range of states, not be dominated by just a few powerful ones. Thank you.
I agree that at the same time, this approach makes international law more flexible and able to evolve with global development. Has that faced new challenges such as technological advancements or environment issue? Their domestic law and practice can help shape new international norms. However, domestic law should not be treated as conclusive evidence on this one. It must be supported by consistent state practice and acceptance by other states. This helps ensure that international law develops fairly and reflects the interests of the international communities as a whole.
So, in my view, balance is essential. International courts and evaluate all states practice objectively so that every state has an equal opportunity to contribute to the international law.
Alright, in summary, today's discussion shows that domestic law can be used as an evidence in international law through the concept of state practice. Alright, so based on today's discussion, can we conclude that domestic law plays an important role in the formation of customary international law through consistent state practice and opinion juries?
Okay, in my perspective, customary international law (CIL) is formed through a combination of state practice and opinion juries. It is not enough for states to simply act in a similar way. The behavior must be consistent and widespread over time. States must also believe that they are legally obligated to follow their practice. So, not just for convenience, habit, or political interest. When both elements exist together, a pattern of behavior can gradually develop into a binding rule of international law. This is why CIL reflects both what states actually do and what they believe the law requires them to do. Thank you.
In addition, the Anglo-Norwegian picturized case demonstrate that consistent state practice can influence the development of international law.
Okay. So, in conclusion, the answer to the question, can national practice help create international law is yes, although domestic law is not direct source of international law. It can serve as important evidence in the formation of customary international law when supported by consistent state practice and belief. Then such practice is legally required. Thank you to all listeners for joining our podcast. We hope this discussion has improved your understanding of the relationship between domestic law and international law. And thank you to all panelists for joining this podcast. Thank you and